So let's look at the stats. Healthcare in America. The United States is 4.6% of the world's population. And the cost of our healthcare is $3.3 trillion. So when I hear anything over $1 million, it all blends together. Hey guys, I'm going, all these cool people are sitting here, and I go, oh, I know them all. Oh, it's because I invited them all. So 3.3 trillion kind of is like, it's like $1 million, but it's more than $1 million. So you want to see the number? Here's the number. This is $3.3 trillion. That is a friggin' big number. That is $27,500,000,000 a month. That is $900 million a day. $37,500,000 an hour. $625,000 a minute and $10,500 a second. That is the cost of health care in the United States. And that is 4.6% of the world's population. And that is more than 50%, I think it's more than 55% of the world's health care bill. So 4.6% of the world's population outspends the other 95.4 on health care. If dollars were the right thing to do in health care, who would have the best health care? We do. So let's look at some stats. First, I was just, messing with numbers. I was sitting at my computer going, first of all, I didn't even have a calculator that could calculate that. Most calculators go out 9 zeros, right? So I had to actually do higher math. So I could be wrong on this stuff. Oh, I took it out. I'll back it up a second. I'll tell you what I was doing. I was figuring out there's about 1 million healthcare providers in the United States. There's 577,000 medical doctors. That is less than when I graduated. Did you know that? The number of medical doctors is going down in this country. In fact, our daughter she starts school at Hofstra in September, but she was looking at different schools, and we found out that if she wanted a medical degree and signed an agreement that she would open up a family practice, NYU would let her go there for free. That's scary. I was at my mother's birthday party. She turned 90 in October, and Colleen and I don't go to New Jersey a lot for a lot of reasons. But we were up there, and friends said, hey, you should come have breakfast with us. So physical therapist she worked with, we went to breakfast. We're sitting down at the table. The next table over, our friend Cindy goes, oh, look, it's Dr. Smith. Dr. Smith just retired. And he mumbles, I didn't retire, I just get tired of the crap. Hey, how you doing? So I said to him, what are you doing now, Doc? Driving Uber? That's happening all over the country. That's why the numbers are going down. Doctors are getting sick of it. There's too much work. There's a study that just came out. University of California Medical School at Riverside said 54% of medical doctors contemplated quitting their career in the last 12 months. So that's 577,000. I read a study that said the rate we're going, by 2025, there should be an estimated 250,000 nurse practitioners. It was a 10-year-old study. Right now, we're at 270,000 nurse practitioners. That's amazing. And then chiropractors is about the same as it was when I graduated, 66,000. If you look at the average salary of those people, it comes out to be, well, we won't go into what it is, but I thought if we said 200,000 for everybody, we'd have some people complaining about that, but then we'd have a lot of people going, wow, that's a big raise. So 200,000. If you paid all million of those people 200,000, you'd still have $3.1 trillion left over to spend in healthcare. So it's not going to the providers. Where's the money going? The Organization of Economics and Cooperative Development. There's 35 countries that belong to that group. Their purpose is to promote economic development and social well-being. So it's civilized countries helping uncivilized countries. And guess who's the most civilized country? United States. So most countries in this group spend less than 10% of their GNP, their gross national product, on healthcare. The highest, not counting the US, is 11.8, and the US is 17% of its gross national product. So the richest country in the world spends more of its money on healthcare than any other country in the world, the biggest percentage there is. So throwing money at it apparently isn't going to be a solution. So of the 35 countries, the United States ranks 29th in infant mortality. That means, how well does a baby survive the first year of life? We are 29th out of 35. We are ranked 26th 3 years ago in life expectancy. Out of the top 35 countries, and you saw the dollars we're spending on it, we are ranked 26th in life expectancy. But in the last 2 years, life expectancy in the United States dropped both years, the first time since World War I. The first time. There are countries now that have a longer life expectancy by 3/4 of a decade than Americans. Something majorly wrong with that, don't you agree? Richest country in the world, most resources, best power, and we're one of the lowest life expectancies. There's the graph. There's the US. I gotta make sure I push the right button. There's the US. This only goes up to 2014. It has gone down in the last 2 years. This, by the way, is cost of dollars per citizen for healthcare. The United States in 2015 went over $10,000 per citizen. It is way, hey Jen, it is way out of control. Way out of control. The United States ranks 37th overall in the world, according to the World Health Organization, as far as health goes. There's 180 countries in that. We're 37th, right behind Costa Rica, just ahead of Slovenia. You look at other countries, didn't Greece go broke a couple years ago and have a bunch of riots? They're 14. 3 South American countries are ahead of the United States. I mean, it's almost like I'm making this up. It's almost unbelievable. The United States consumes 80 to 90% of the world's opioids. And I'm hesitant to say 90%, but there's a lot of studies that say 90%. But it's almost too fantastic to believe that. 4.6% of the world consumes 90% of the world's opioids. The United States has the highest drug death overdose rate in the world. 80% of heroin addicts in this country got started with an opioid prescription. Opioids are the leading cause of death of Americans under the age of 50. And the number one diagnosis that gets that prescription is back pain. Back pain. That's in our wheelhouse. That's what we should be handling. I look at this and I go, I'm to blame. I am to blame for this because I have a better solution for back pain than that crap. And what are we doing about it? We're having a great convention and I'm trying to piss you people off right now to get off your butts and do something about it. Because who is better able to do this? Who is better able to do this? Look, you know our program. Those of you, some of you are new, maybe you don't know it yet. But hey, Rob, we got a little feedback here. So you know our program works. Those of you who have been doing it for years and you put it in, your patients get better now than they ever got, right? It's a program that gets people to a level they never even thought they were going to get to, without drugs and without surgery. So how do we get this to the masses? We have to get this to the masses. We're going to go broke by 2025 as a nation, hey Matt, if we don't change it. We're going to go broke. That's like no money. Here's the Americans. I don't got it. Can I borrow some money? Nope. That's going to be us at 2025 because of this crap. You look at it, look, there's the drug death rate. This is according to UNODC. I don't even know who that is. United Nations or something. Look at the death rate in the United States for drug overdose compared to the rest of the world. It's ridiculous. Now is the time to strike. Would you agree? Our competition is opioids. Is that Bill Knopp? Hey, Bill. All right, do me a favor. I'm going to embarrass the crap out of you. Could you stand up for a minute? If anybody has any objections of anything that happens at this conference, see Bill. He'll handle it for you. Thank you. All right, so now's the time to strike. Don't you agree? Yes. Now's the time to strike. Don't you agree? Yes. What? Yes. Now's the time to strike. Our competition is not each other. Our competition is not the chiropractor down the street. Our competition is not the medical doctors. Our competition is not any other clinic. It's these guys, and they're kicking our butts. They are way outproducing us. The Sackler brothers, what was it, $35 billion they made? They're making donations to cover up their crimes in art that is ridiculous. The largest marble piece of art in the world was just paid for by the Sackler brothers. It's like a whole courtyard. The Queen saw it, went, oh my God, how are we going to clean this? That was a joke. 2/3 of personal bankruptcies in the United States are for unpaid medical bills. 72% of those people had insurance. Insurance isn't going to save you. Insurance is not going to save you. Insurance is a rigged game. I'm going to show you how it's rigged. 54% of medical physicians feel burned out and have contemplated quitting in the last year. That study just came out. So this is really going to piss you off, because when I learned this, it really pissed me off. How many of you remember the drug bill being passed by Medicare? Medicare Part D. Raise your hand. Make a noose. Give me a whoop whoop. There you go. All right, so you're awake. Medicare Part D, what a great thing for humanity. Drugs are so expensive. Let's get the government to pay. Let's get Medicare to pay. So our Congress people went to work in the name of the American people to help us. And they negotiated the following deal. Medicare cannot negotiate lower prices from drug companies. They must pay full price. Medicare cannot purchase drugs from third world countries like the United States and Canada, which are 23 times cheaper. They must buy them from the companies in the United States. Does that piss you off? Could you imagine if they said, Medicare must pay chiropractors whatever the hell they bill and cannot negotiate lower prices? And you cannot go get chiropractic in other countries. You must get it from American chiropractors. Woo! No, what do? Oh, you're using a nurse practitioner? Let's cut it by 15%. No, I don't think so. Do you now know why all these politicians are saying, let's get one payer, let's get Medicare to pay everybody? Well, why would they do that? Why would politicians do that? Well, first of all, the bill's author, Louisiana Congressman Billy Tauzin, retired right after he got the bill that he wrote passed and took a $2 million a year job as a pharmaceutical lobbyist. Okay, I went the wrong way. Oh. Excuse me. Members of Congress are not required to recuse themselves for voting on bills that they personally benefit from. Did you know that? 20% of congressmen and 30% of senators own stock in big pharma. That's a lot. Now, some people go, well, it's only 20 and 30%. Well, they don't have to disclose how many of their spouses and how many of their children own stock in big pharma. And it's more than that. The 40 Republicans, oh, well, I'm Republican. Oh, I'm Democrat. I don't give a crap. They're all crooked. I don't even get a clap for that one. The 40 Republicans who voted for the Affordable Care Act, which was written by the attorneys for the drug companies, owned a total of $23 million worth of big pharma. 40 guys owned $23 million worth of big pharma, and then they voted on a bill that says, let's make a one-payer system, and you have to pay top price. Isn't that convenient? Are you guys getting pissed off yet? We already covered this. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. We need to do things different in the United States. Right now, our competition is the leading cause of death of Americans under the age of 50. If there's been a better time to strike, I don't know when it was, but now is the time to change healthcare. Our competition is killing our patients. That's basically what it comes down to. Our competition is killing our patients. And if we don't stop it, we're part of it. This is my favorite quote. Some of you know this. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends upon the unreasonable man and woman. Are you guys unreasonable? Do you want to be unreasonable with me? Do you want to change this? How do you change it? Be unreasonable. You gotta change it. You're going to hear from John Rosa today. John Rosa, he's a surrogate on the White House Committee on Opioid Abuse, the only chiropractor on that panel. And some of you have heard him speak before. And today he's not going to get up and give you the stats. That's my job. What he did, being one person who's tired of this crap, has come up with a way to change it. And what he's going to do is unveil that to you today. And it's going to, woo, that's right. Wait till you hear, wait till you see what he's got. Hey, Sam. He's going to change it. He's being an unreasonable man. And all progress depends upon the unreasonable man. You have to look at healthcare differently. How many of you have seen this before? How many of you use this in your office to educate? Well, that's going to change right now. How many don't use it? Oh, look, nobody, a couple people raise their hand. Thank you for being honest. Look, I don't want to be famous for this. This is just a viewpoint. I had to look at myself and say, what is wrong with me that I'm allowing this to occur? And this is what I came up with. So it's how we look at disease. That's the main problem. The drug companies want us to look at disease as you get a pain and then you fix the pain. And if you don't have a pain, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. How do I know that? Well, just look at the drugs we sell. Pain drugs, anti-inflammation drugs. They don't fix things. They might alleviate something, but they don't fix anything. And that's what we're doing. We got to start looking at it differently. So let's look at how a disease actually occurs. When somebody gets a disease, that will be over here, do we know the day, and for you people down there, lasers are awesome, aren't they? That means I could zap anybody in this room right now. If the disease starts right here, do you know you have the disease the day it starts? No. What do you have to experience to know something's wrong? A symptom. So in most diseases, does that symptom show up in the first half or the second half of the disease? Second half. Now we're in healthcare. What do you think most patients say? Well, it's changing. Just like America's on the internet looking for stem cells, America's also on the internet learning about healthcare. Because Americans are sick of going broke over healthcare, even the ones who have insurance. So they're looking. And now we're seeing more like 50% of the people are saying the second half. But to just prove it for any doubters in here, I'm going to get you to prove it to me. What is the leading cause of death in the United States? Heart disease. What did you say, Steph? Medicine. Okay, we won't go there, but heart disease. 700,000 Americans die from heart disease every year, right? What's the first symptom usually? 50% of those people all have the same first symptom. What is it? The heart attack that kills them. Leading cause of death. 50% of the time, the first symptom shows up right there. So that's not good to use symptoms as a barometer for that, right? What's the second leading cause of death in the United States? Raise your hand if you do not know anybody that ever had cancer. Crickets, right? That means you're all qualified to answer this question. Can you have tumors and not have a symptom? So there, we're lucky if the symptom shows up in the last 10% of the disease. You want to know why we have the most expensive, ineffective health care in the world? Is we're treating the symptom, we're treating the symptom which shows up at the end of the problem. There's our window to fix the person. We're not looking at things down here. When somebody comes in, the worst thing you could say to somebody is, oh, it's just a little degeneration. That's like a mechanic telling the pilot, it's just a little rust. The rest of the wing looks good. You guys awake? That was a joke. We got to change that viewpoint. We got to start looking at like, look, the healthy body fixes itself. We got to correct what? Function. That's right. We have to correct function. If you have a malfunction, I don't care if you have symptoms or not, you got to change it. You got to correct it. What's the best? I did this last night with our guests. What's the best cure for heart disease? 2 things. What is it? Diet and exercise. What's the best thing for depression? Diet and exercise. What's the best thing for gastrointestinal? Diet and exercise. What do? Diet and exercise. This weekend, you're going to hear a lot of things about exercise, physical medicine, nutrition. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of nutrition, a lot of cool stuff, right? That's what we do. We are the cure. We just got to get our message out there. I just realized I got a timer here. Is that counting down? I guess it is. I got 22 minutes. All right, let me get some pictures of my family up here. Do you guys get it? We have to change. It's got to start with somebody. If we don't change, David, if we don't change, we're all screwed. The country will be broke. These numbers will drive us broke. If they pass a one-payer system where everybody has to pay top dollar for the drugs, I mean, they're talking about that right now. And you hear some rumblings, it's too expensive, but they're not doing anything about it. What's the answer? Let's get the government to pay for it. Then it's free. Who pays that? Working people. Who doesn't pay it? Non-working people. And what are they trying to do? Let a whole bunch of more non-working people in the country. We're going to go broke. Look, if your business goes broke, I don't care if you're the best doctor in the world, you're not going to be able to help anybody. If this country goes broke, we're not going to be able to help anybody. We need to change this, and we need to change it like not a couple years from now and not a couple decades from now. We need to change this like last year. That's what this weekend's about. This weekend is about you getting pissed off enough to get yourself into action. Into action, because if you don't get into action, we're screwed. We're going nowhere. Just down that old tube, while we're making a whole bunch of executives in pharmaceutical companies and healthcare companies super rich. In my book, I go into great detail. You know who the highest paid executives in the country are? Hospitals. And you want to hear how they cover it up? St. Barnabas Hospital in New Jersey, the director made $23,000 in 2015. But he got over $2 million in bonuses from different companies for promoting certain types of treatment in the hospital. But on his official salary was $23,000. And you go, how could that guy even survive on that? Well, that probably wasn't even his car payment. That's what's going on in this country. There's plenty of money in healthcare. There's just not plenty of money in healthcare for you because you're fixing them. See, they don't want them fixed. They want them going through that cycle over and over and over and milking that money out of the American public until we're broke and dead. That's the plan. And they're pretty darn good at it. Are all drugs bad? No. You know that my brother-in-law just retired as vice president of research of a major pharmaceutical company. And my other sister-in-law, Colleen's sister, is the vice president of safety of the third largest pharmaceutical company in the world. There are some good things that they do, but there's a lot of things that just a few select people do that are really, really bad. John Rosa was telling us some of the stuff that's coming out in the trials now that are happening because of the opioid crisis, and that's why we got to strike now. But what he's finding is they're doing investigations. You heard about the company that was just busted in New York? The distribution company that was distributing opioids to illegitimate places, a lot of them, like tons of them, because they were making money off of it. You don't think the pharmaceutical company who distributed through that company knew that? If you've ever worked in the pharmaceutical industry or knew anybody who did, you know the pharmaceutical manufacturers know exactly what's going on with that distribution. It's all regulated. And what's happening is they're starting to look at emails and texts, and they're realizing they were evil in the whole thing. Hello? Oh, okay. They have a slide that they found from the Purdue Pharma that says, and once we get them addicted, we can come out with this other drug that handles addiction, and it's called full circle treatment. What are we going to do about that? Oh, these guys are building monuments. We really can't mess with them because they got the biggest marble thing in England, right? That's what's happening. It's only going to come from us. The government is not going to do it. The government is part of it. The government is part of it. They're spending billions and billions of dollars to grease the pockets of politicians so they don't get shut down. In fact, they're talking about one-payer system. The only way this is ever going to stop is we get a different type of treatment out to America, which means individual practices. Individual practices, having systems that work. Individual practices, being able to promote their systems to the public, to get them in, to get them fixed, and the side effects of that will be people start getting well, they start talking to other people, the practice does well, everybody gets paid better, everybody gets bigger bonuses because we're being successful. How many of you guys want to be successful? This is the only way. This is the only way. History shows that if we don't stand up to them, they're going to just keep nipping away at all the money we make. They are so pissed off that we now have a way to sell a service that helps people avoid drugs and surgery for cash because it's screwing up their system. And the FDA, I'm sure some of you are afraid, oh, the FDA is going to shut us down. The FDA has no authority over stem cells. It's not the Food and Drug and Stem Cell Administration. It's the Food and Drug Administration. And what do? Well, we got to turn it into a drug to regulate it. So have they done that? Have they been successful at that? Can we do fat-based stem cells anymore? Why not? Because it's a drug. And if you get out there and you start marketing and saying, I can cure this and I can cure that, even though you see it all the time in your clinic, it must be a drug because you're curing. And only a drug can cure, according to the FDA, which is 80% pharmaceutical executives. It is, right? If we don't get this out to the public, if we don't become successful, the whole country is screwed. Now look at the tone of this room. Everybody's like, So I brought it back up to help you with that, because I don't want you like this. I want you like this. We got to do something. Let's practice that. We got to do something. There you go. We got to do something. It's our obligation, not only as doctors, but as human beings, to help our fellow man. We have expertise that could stop this crisis. And if we don't do it, shame on us. And guess what? What I'm demanding that you do is to be successful. It's to be successful. That's what you have to do. It is your duty to humanity to become successful. Don't feel guilty because you start making more money. You should make more money. You're going up against the biggest money maker in the world, Michael. You should feel fun. You feel great about it. You should go look at all the people we helped. And you should make it known. And you should belong to a group like this that helps keep us strong as a group. And this group should get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. 6 years ago, we had our first convention, and there was 30 people there. Was there anybody in this room that was there at that convention? A couple hands. There you go. Woo! Changed a little, didn't it? You know why? Because I've been pissed off for a long time. And I'm married to her, who takes my pissed offness and turns it into direction. Let's hear it for Colleen. Well, we got to do something. We got to do something. What started this vision in my head was me being temporarily paralyzed. I don't wish that on anybody. That scared the crap out of me. They were talking about drilling bolts into my head and wearing a halo, and I'm like, what? I'm walking. Yeah, but we think you broke your neck. Thank God they didn't do that. Thank God I figured out how to get off the pain meds. I remember the thing that really pushed me over the edge is Colleen came over to visit me. We weren't married yet. And she wakes me up, and I'm like, you going to work? She's like, I'm heading home from work. And I was like, what time is it? What day is it? And I realized this is not going to fix me. I got to do something different. So I did. Who's that? That's what we got to do. You don't have to get paralyzed to get motivated enough to change healthcare. You already got a vehicle there. What you need to do is get rid of the reasons in your head why you can't do it. You have to be unreasonable. You have to say, I don't give a crap what's in my way. I'm not going to look at that as a barrier. I'm going to look at it as an obstacle, as something in the game that makes the game more exciting. Right? That's the only way to do it. You got to play that game. You got to look at those barriers. Look, every state has barriers. I talk to people all the time, new people, that say, hey, you know, what about my state? What about my state? Every state has barriers. Every state has obstacles. But you know what? If it was a piece of cake, nobody would want to do it. If it was a piece of cake, we wouldn't be here, because these numbers I went over wouldn't exist, because everybody would be doing this. It is your duty to overcome those barriers for the future people, to make it so that this is the standard of care. Do you agree with that? Yeah. So, there's a lot of different disciplines in this room. We have medical doctors in this room. We have nurse practitioners in this room. We have chiropractors in this room. We have PAs in this room. We have physical therapists in this room. And a whole bunch of other great people in this room. We are the people that are taking this on. We're the only company out there that's teaching this model that says, let's do it for the right reason. The side effect will be that we become wealthy, that we are successful. And it should be. If your clinic fixes people and stops the crap we just looked at, you should be the most rewarded people in your town. Do you agree? So to do that, what? A big heart? I'm not going to get political. I promised Colleen I wouldn't get political. But I just read a quote that was awesome. Winston Churchill. He says, if you're not a liberal by the age of 20, you don't have a heart. And if you're not a conservative by the age of 50, you don't have a brain. So, okay, that's all I'm going to do. We need to change health care. So we're thinking on this convention, how do we do this? Well, the first thing we got to do is put on our game face. Right? We got to be up for the game. We can't be wimpy. We can't be somebody who's like, oh, no, it's going to be pretty tough. We got to put on our game face and say, you know what? We are going to win this. So I brought some help to be able to do that. There you go. The greatest barrier to success is the fear of failure. We have to overcome that. We have to get ready to put on our game face and get out there and be ready to fight and win at the fight and enjoy the fight. You know, you read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? The guy who starts to realize, I can't sit here and wait for him to bring the cheese back. I got to go find it. After a while, he starts realizing how fun it was to go find the cheese. How many people read that book? Awesome. If you didn't, go read it. If you did, go read it again.